origin of these launches and landings. But that lie has now been pushed. It's weird to me. It's weird people get away with that. I've been calling out the Bass Strait, on Twitter, whatever, being like, were you conducting espionage?
Do you think that it's weird, or you think it's normal for people to try to find some sort of rational terrestrial origin for these things? And then they just dismiss people like yourself that are heavily invested in the UFO being extraterrestrial.
But I'm not.
Right. You're not?
No, I'm not, man.
I am.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. The full answer might be cooler than that. So
Right.
I'm not gonna put all my money on that.
Well, I shouldn't say extraterrestrial. I should say not ours.
Yeah, not operated by a non-human intelligence.
Yes.
That'd be cool.
Non-human intelligence.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah. Yeah. All of it's cool.
Range
But it's
5.
just such a weird aspect of current society that this has become a focal point of conversation. And this has become a focal point of investigations and articles being written and the Congress having hearings on it.
I think I said this at the beginning, man. It's like
Range
the world
5.
is creaking under the weight of our collective UFO experience. I can feel it. It's like I think there's an increase in frequency of these things. So that is for sure. There's an increase of frequency.
Is it an increase in discovery, or is it an increase of discussion?
So that was like one of my big questions.
Range
Is
5.
our technology just better at picking this up?
Right.
And are just people... So it is both. Our technology is better at picking them up, and there's a physical increase in frequency of these unidentifieds in areas they shouldn't be, from our operational standpoint. And then
Shockwave.
the
Range
discussion.
5.
I think once you start thinking about this, it's so exciting that I think people like to talk about it because it opens worlds to us.
Yeah.
It's a unique time in history, right? That we can have this conversation and not be laughed out the room just because we're doing a thought puzzle here.
Right.
Range 5.
Before you just like dismiss. I used to feel all the time, man. I was like, let's talk about this shit. And people would just dismiss you.
Well, people don't like looking ridiculous and foolish.
Nobody
And that's part of the problem with the UFO narrative, the UFO story, is that it makes people look ridiculous and foolish because it's
Range
so crazy.
5.
There's other crazier things, man. I think that so that was like by design though. Like there was the Robertson panel. So like there was this huge flyover of UFOs in 1952 of the White House in Washington D.C. 2 weekends in a row. I mean, everybody.
Range
Time
5.
Magazine did something on it. It was fucking big, right? They said, "Oh no, we didn't send out any jets." Turns out they did. They couldn't catch these things. So 1952, huge flyover of D.C. They hold a press conference, and they're like, basically, we don't know what these are, but they don't seem to pose a national security threat. That was like the line, right? We don't know what these are, but they don't seem to pose a national security threat. So then they did this study. I think it was called the Robertson Panel. I'm terrible with this shit, but I think it's called the Robertson Panel. And they determined that the UFOs might not pose a national security threat, but public interest in them might. So their job was to demystify the UFO topic in public, make fun of it.
Right. That's what Operation Blue Book did.
Oh, they totally dismissed it. Swamp gas comes from that.
What's fascinating is the man who was responsible for Project Blue Book was Dr. J. Allen Hynek, and when he left Project Blue Book, he became the forefront UFO investigator. And
Range
said,
5.
I think that a lot of the things that I investigated turns out were real.
He felt guilt, right? He
Really?
felt, yeah. I brought an Omni magazine for you. I forgot to bring it
When did he
to
die?
the studio. I don't know. Too early.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy was cool as shit,
Yeah.
But yeah, he just for people that don't know the basic guy,
Range
this
5.
guy was like I think astronomer, astrophysicist, I think astronomer. And man, he was involved with Project Blue Book, and he was realizing they're making him try to dismiss all this shit.
Yes, they were trying to find rational explanations for people seeing things
Yeah.
that seemed preposterous.
And what is it called? The Condon
Range
or
5.
something. So basically, they just were trying to make it go away.
So
And-
we know that they have a history of doing this.
Yeah.
We know that they have a history of actively trying to dismiss these stories.
Oh yeah. To the point where
Shockwave.
part of the operation, like you read about that church committee where they'll put
Range
people
5.
into communities to disrupt them. The words would be to shape the emerging UFO narrative. To this day. Now, why you want to shape it? Why would an intelligence agency want to shape this? Let's just get the information out there, right? I guess there's power in controlling the UFO narrative.
Sure.
Is there
Shockwave.
also,
Range
like,
5.
this disdain for the intelligence of the average person? Is that part of it? That they're like, these fucking people don't need to know.
Well, if they're sitting on something really fucking cool, why would they want to give that up, man?
Well, if they do believe that most, I think, politicians,
Range 5.
and people that get into great positions of power start to believe that they're better than the average person.
Shockwave.
Some cops have that. They have a us versus them mentality. And I definitely think that lawmakers and the like would have that as well, especially people involved in intelligence agencies. I mean, that's part of the gig, is that you have access to stuff that the average person does not, because you can handle it. And you're trained this way, and this is how you behave, and so that information comes along that's really fucking wild. Like, there's this interdimensional spacecraft that can just appear over the ocean.
Range
disappear,
5.
And you go to fucking chase it, and it faster than your eye can follow. It disappears over the horizon. Like, what do you say and do about that? Like, what could possibly benefit them to release that information to people like you and me?
Yeah.
Range 5.
First of all, I got a no douchebag policy. Everybody I know in government's fucking cool as shit. They're not like some ego-tripping maniacs. A lot of people think this information, the basics, should be public. And they think it's a crime that it's been held back.
But there's just policies in place that they can't violate.
Yeah, there's policies in place. And the main thing is their security clearances are their jobs, even when they're out, right? So
Right.
if you lose that, even when you're out, it changes your fucking life. You've had this whole career that you're doing. But people I know in these positions that have access to this information, whether we believe them or not, like they're good people. I think they want this information to be public, and they think it's bigger than themselves. But that's what we're seeing. We're seeing finally representative government representing the public's interest to know about this. Now, is there anything under the hood? Let's find out.
Do you think that them releasing information and having these discussions is their way of preparing us for the inevitable? That maybe this is the best way to do it, to get some information out there and say, we have recovered off-world crafts, and we're seeing things that are not ours, and the propulsion systems are not based on any known physics or that we have a grasp of. That when they're telling us this, it's because they think that this is all it's gonna blow up in our face, and so we got to get some information out there to prepare people. Otherwise, we're gonna have a collapse of society. We're gonna have a UFO landing on the White House lawn and panic in the streets, and that they think that somehow or another they can mitigate some of the more negative aspects of that by releasing some data now.
Range
Does
5.
that make sense?
Yeah, totally. A lot of people have said that, to me, and even said, maybe you're a part of that and don't even know, and that's why you're getting like videos and shit and
Right.
all that. The thing is that the reality, though, if someone could just see that, the reality is the people I know that are fighting for this inside and
Range
creating
5.
the language and trying to get this to happen, it's not organized from the diabolical, or even like, it's not even organized in a way. It's like pressure. Like if they knew, you know what I mean? It seems so mysterious that it almost looks like Machiavellian, like they're just getting the public ready. But in fucking
Range
reality,
5.
I don't think it's that organized.
That makes more sense because most things aren't that organized.
It's just not. People don't know each other. A lot of the people kind of fighting the good fight about UFOs, they don't even know each other, man.
Right. So they're just slowly but surely, the overwhelming amount of evidence is causing people to have these discussions and force these discussions.
that's my theory. Is we're talking about it now, and it's not fucked to talk about it now. You can have these conversations because people like Fravor come forward.
Do you ever feel like some of the stuff that you've been shown that you're not supposed to show, that it would really benefit society to release that stuff? To the point where you almost feel compelled? Like how much different do you think the conversation would be about UFOs if people saw and knew what you know? Not much different? A little bit different?
No, because no one trusts, like you could have a live alien on this podcast and people would say, it could be an actual live alien.
I think I already have. Elon's been on 3 times.
That's a good point. I did not believe his last thing about not being interested in UFOs, by the way.
Well, I feel like that might have been motivated at least slightly by the fact that he smoked weed on my show and got in trouble with NASA.
Oh, don't do that, huh?
That's what I was thinking. When he was so quickly dismissing it, well, they sure are subtle. When he was saying that, I was like, well, wouldn't they be subtle? Like, what would they be doing unless they're trying to freak us the fuck out? But when he smoked weed on the podcast and got in trouble with NASA, I would imagine that you'd want to show yourself as a respectable ball player. I'm here to play ball. I'm trying to get funding. I'm trying to launch my rockets. We're all on the same team, boys. I need that top secret clearance.
I'm curious if they film the launches, if they have any footage of those launches being observed by what we call UAP or UFOs, because I have a pilot, and he gave me footage from, he was in this lucky position during one of these launches where he was the closest plane, and he gave me footage of what looked like, objects like lights up observing this launch.
Is one of the SpaceX rockets?
Yeah, bro. And so the thing is, it's anything you shoot out of a commercial airline, like it has to go through a process, so it's not something that like legally you could put out.
Mm-hmm.
But I am curious if Elon's company probably films the shit out of every part of those launches. Wouldn't it be interesting if these unidentifieds, whatever they are, were kind of observing us playing with these rockets?
Maybe Elon needs to strap a nuke to one of those things just
and
to see
bait
how
them.
much bait them.
And bait them. Would he tell you if
Me? No.
He wouldn't tell you if they
Definitely
filmed any of
wouldn't
those
tell me.
things?
Nope.
You
Why would he?
I don't know, because
I'm a
you're
pothead with a
interested
big mouth.
No, actually, you know what? You can keep a secret.
Oh yeah.
No, I've learned that. That's really cool.
I'm good at keeping secrets.
Yeah.
When it comes to stuff like UFOs and
Yeah.
if there was a secret that like affect mankind,
Yeah.
and people are gonna die, I would tell people.
Right. Real quick, let them know.
I'd be like, hey,
No.
folks, we got a problem.
There should be no panic. Like let's say this all goes well, and there is actually something under the hood with the UFO thing, and that this congressional language, it does bring forward people. Like have Bob's already said everything to George in 1980. But people that have security clearances, let's pretend this goes well.
I would like to sit down with Bob again, because I wonder what the experience has been like for Bob with the documentary coming out and then being on the podcast.
Let's
grab
him. Let's get him.
Yeah, let's get him back in. Would you think he'd do it again?
Yeah.
Because he was a little uncomfortable about the attention.
I asked him about that again
Yeah.
for you, and yeah. Bob doesn't. He doesn't even get it that people want to still talk with him.
He doesn't get why?
He doesn't get it. Yeah, he doesn't get why people want to still talk with him.
I'm a Bob Lazar fanboy.
Totally, dude. And but by the way, if we didn't even talk about UFOs, we'd have the most fun fucking
Well, when
conversation.
we went to dinner with him,
Yeah.
we had a great time.
He always tells me the craziest shit just about.
Well, he told us
science.
some crazy shit that we can't talk about.
Right.
Yeah, which was wild. Which explains a lot
I
about his
know.
education history and
I
a lot of
know.
other things. And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then, it also explains about like why he was chosen as,
Yeah. I know. And I verified that further, by the way. So here's the deal. I think he almost likes that he can be dismissed. What if everybody believed Bob Lazar?
Right.
How fucked would his life be?
His life would be fucked. Yeah, he's easily dismissed, which is kind of good sometimes. I think one of the things that was more interesting about or one of the things that was interesting about your documentary was when during the documentary his lab got raided.
Yeah, people said, "Oh my God, my wife wanted to kill people." people said I fucking made that up for I just made up the raid, like hired actors in FBI shirts and shit. I swear to God, that was like a huge deal.
Well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
People probably think you're in the FBI.
Oh
or
yeah,
something.
it's so fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people that are paranoid schizophrenics that are just running around accusing everybody of being a spy and being part of government agencies and what have you.
But isn't it just easier to dismiss what somebody says if you can just dismiss them as being like, genuine or honest?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's such a complex subject because it seems foolish to spend any time thinking about it without anything really tangible. It's like everything is speculative. Everything is he said, she said, and here's some data, and it says a thing that's going faster than the speed of sound by, a factor of 20 or something like that.
But I'll argue there's tons of evidence. There's tons of evidence. Now, there's the human intelligence side of it, which is just you talk with people that have no reason to lie.
Yeah, but
they got multiple witnesses.
Do lie.
Tons of people do.
People are crazy.
But you can sort out what if 1%, right? And I'm so good at that now. You get a call, you end up talking with somebody. You fucking know almost immediately if there's an angle, if there's an agenda. Why do people do stuff? They do stuff to get stuff. I'm just saying, I think there's a lot of information out there that is not public. I'm certain of it, actually, that there's a lot of information that's not public that should be. UFOs are tangible. There is a tangible aspect to them, a mechanistic machine aspect to them. The weirder question is that a performance? If something is so advanced, couldn't they make you feel, think, see whatever they want you to see?
Right. Couldn't they look like a tree? Yeah. Couldn't they, fly through the clouds? I knew a guy who was schizophrenic who I knew he was a little crazy, but I didn't know how crazy. And one day he shows me his phone, and he shows me these pictures of clouds. And I think I'm just looking at some cool clouds. And he goes, "See it? You see this one? You see that? You see this one?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "I see them every day." I go, "What are you seeing?" He goes, "Alien spacecrafts." I go, "What?"
Yeah.
I go, "You see alien?" I go, "I see clouds." He goes, No. These are alien spacecrafts disguised as clouds." And I'm looking at him, and I'm just recognizing. I knew he had a screw loose.
Yeah.
But I'm like, how many of those guys are out there thinking they're seeing things?
I've got like the cry folder in my emails.
Cry?
Yeah, it makes me really sad, man.
Oh.
'Cause like
schizos,
dude, like people have these incredibly painful experiences that are not UFO related. But that's a way that your mind can rationalize what's wrong with you, what's going on. And I get them all the time, and I put them over here like probably needs medical attention, right?
Right.
Luckily, there are some major universities that are quietly studying some of these biological effects.
Biological effects of
close encounters. People that claim to have close encounters and constant encounters.
Now, when it comes to that, what's the best evidence in terms of there have been people that have said they've been abducted and I told you the story about Angela Hill, who's a top UFC fighter. Her grandfather was Barney Hill. Betty and Barney Hill. That's her grandparents. It's just so crazy.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's a great case. That was really interesting.
Really interesting because it's early. Yeah. Early. It was like the 50s, right?
Yeah.
And it's sort of the archetype for all these UFO abduction experiences. Lost time, traveling together on a road in the middle of nowhere, light shows up, they lose time, and then hypnotic regression.
It's the most popular one. You could call it an archetype because it's so well known, but man,
Is that a problem, though? That things become really well known and then they become a thing that a person sort of formulates in their head when they have a questionable experience. The mind fills in the blank. Like when they say, like one of the things that happens, like in the case of a disaster or some sort of very traumatic event, like a mass shooting or something like that, people see things that didn't really happen, or they have a very distorted memory of it because they're so in shock. Like in times of war and things like that. Like they see things that weren't really there, or that were inaccurate. Like their version of it that when they recount it is all fucked up
Mm-hmm.
because the mind gets scrambled by moments of extremely high stress, high adrenaline, worried you're gonna die, gun explosion. Like everybody has like fucked up stories.
Yeah, we try to explain these experiences that are like so outside of our norm that how do you describe it? You have to take things that you know, right, in order to describe those things. Trying to think of a good concrete example of that, but it is my understanding when I listen to people that I do believe had these close encounters that they can't find the words to describe the experience because they've never had an experience like this before.
Right.
So
Which is similar to when people describe psychedelic experiences.
yeah.
Yeah. They a lot of times when people describe psychedelic experiences, they sort of tend to describe them the way they've heard other people describe them because it makes it more comfortable and easy. And I think that one of the more interesting things about this whole idea of UFOs happening, or excuse me, encounters happening to people while they sleep, is that you could dismiss one aspect of it by saying that it's an endogenous dump of naturally produced psychedelic chemicals, which we know the mind creates.
DMT and the
But the other thing is, where it gets weirder is, well, what if that is a legitimate way of communicating with aliens?
I tried to do that one time.
Yeah?
Yeah, just to see, am I going to have this typical experience? Like I wanted that so bad, what everybody
Mm-hmm.
has described. Like let me see if there's any there. Let me
Right.
try it.
Right.
I was totally atypical, bro. It was like nothing. So maybe I don't know.
When you
I
say
didn't-
totally atypical, what do you mean?
meaning my experience of it wasn't what I was looking for, but was what I needed.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I didn't get to.
You didn't meet the aliens.
No,
and
man, that'd
jump
be so
aboard
cool.
the
Have
spaceship.
you ever seen that shit?
No,
Aliens?
no, I've never seen
Yeah.
like what you would call traditional aliens, but I've definitely encountered entities
Yeah.
in psychedelic
I
experiences.
got a Cheshire cat that keeps winking at me.
I had a bunch of jokers give me the finger.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. But they were explaining something to me that I take myself too seriously. I was like, oh, okay. And they were like, right? And then I was like, you're right.
That's awesome.
It was interesting because I think what I was trying to do was like maybe control my thoughts during the experience instead of just letting go. And maybe I had some sort of an elevated idea of bringing back my experience and telling other people and seeming profound. And they were just like, fuck you.
Yeah.
And it was interesting that these jokers, and they were jesters, like court jesters with like the hats and everything.
Yeah.
And I think it was to sort of let me explain to me in some way that I have a very unique job, and that part of my job is what's important is to not take myself too seriously.
Yeah.
Because that's a giant pitfall. That's like what a lot of people fall into when they get a lot of attention. They start thinking of themselves in a very high regard. They start thinking that they're really important, instead of just thinking that what you do is probably a gift, and really you're very, very fortunate. So don't take yourself very seriously, but you're just a very fortunate person. It's not like that you're special. Don't take yourself so seriously. And also, if you do, it will fuck up your ability to do the job.
Yeah.
So that was what
It
I
makes
think.
you anxious, right? Like
Yeah.
you want to perform well, to do a good job in life,
Right,
and all this
right.
shit. And all of a sudden, you take yourself too seriously, and I get fucking anxiety if I
Yeah.
don't do something well, and it's
Mhm.
an extra pressure. It does nothing good for what you're trying to do.
Right.
I had this Cheshire cat, right? And it was like the first time I noticed nothing. Yeah, right? First time I noticed nothing. Another time, it was like, bam, you're what winked at me. You're that fucker for a millisecond that winked at me. So I started to get to know this Cheshire cat.
Shockwave.
And this cat was like telling me, I'm ancient and powerful. Imagine a Cheshire cat saying that.
Wow.
And I started arguing with it. I said, well, I'm ancient and powerful. Like, just like that. But then we kept going back and forth. And with every fucking moment, it was diminishing. And no, I'm ancient and powerful. It was like, we got in this argument. So that was like my multiple experiences, like arguing with this fucking Cheshire cat, being like, is it ancient and powerful? One time it showed me it's pretty strong, but like, what's up? Now here's the thing that happened that I didn't anticipate. It was like a systems check, bro. Like
Range 5.
like a tried to blow my speakers, and it's like if you're off your path, you're gonna feel pain and anxiety, and if you're on your path, you're gonna feel fucking good.
Yeah.
Pay attention to that.
Yeah.
And then it cured my insomnia.
Oh,
Like
interesting.
medical insomnia for, the first 30 years of my life.
Range 5.
And you think that insomnia was based on that anxiety?
No. It felt like it was a miraculous thing that I never even heard of happening with people, but it was like from that moment on, like my older brother, was around just to, because I didn't know this shaman guy, right? So like I wanted like someone to have my back.
Right, like a sitter.
Just somebody who watching
Yeah.
me with this person. The shaman actually panicked and started having a panic attack. It was weird, dude.
The shaman did.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it was weird. And so then I was just, because I was doing it alone too, like this ayahuasca thing.
So it was just you and the shaman and
Yeah.
your brother, and the
Yeah, my brother
shaman
was
had
watching.
a panic attack.
Yes, what looked like a panic attack.
Was he also under the influence?
Yeah, they always take it with you, I guess.
Oh, and
I only
so
did it
he-
one. I only did
he
that one time.
freaked.
Yeah, he freaked, man.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was kind of disconcerting.
So this is DMT, so it's short trip.
No, but this was ayahuasca, which contains the
Range
Right.
5.
So, but it's like a longer experience.
right.
Right. So that's the one that cured my insomnia. That's not the Cheshire Cat.
Okay.
That's the short stuff. But this one, it was like it was the only time that I ever felt my body possessed by something other, something else.
Mhm.
And then it like did a
Range
system
5.
check. Like, imagine you have a billion drawers of number 2 pencils, all different colors at different lengths, and it
Mhm.
opens each drawer and looks that you've used that 1/4 amount, and they shut the drawer. It was like brrr, like it just did a system check.
Wow.
Kinda. Then it was like, okay, good job. Now let's see if we can break something. And it like tries to blow my fucking
Range
speakers
5.
out. This was my subjective experience, right? Tries to like blow my speakers out. My body makes like whoa, like it was weird. And then it was like a slap on the ass. It felt like this experience of life is so fragile and momentary.
Watch your
And
step.
you could fuck up really
Range
easy.
5.
If you just get a little off course, in 10 years from now, you're going to be way the fuck off course.
Right.
So it kind of was like, you'll know if you start going off course. That's what I took from it. Again, I only
Mhm.
did it one time, but that's what I took from it.
You'll know, and so trust your intuition.
Correct
and
course
your-
immediately, too.
Right, and understand
Range 5.
that the way when you feel badly
Watch your
about
step.
something like that there's a reason for that.
Yes, that if you, to me specifically, you'll feel pain. You'll feel
These are
anxiety and pain.
Indicators.
For me, yeah.
Yeah, but these are indicators that like whatever it is, the universe is giving you that you're not on the path that you're supposed to be on.
Yeah, man, because our past, like
Range
mine's
5.
been very varied. I'm always finding my place in life in what I didn't think I would do. I always
Watch
thought
your
I would,
step.
train judo or boxing or and I would always do like a martial art. When I started making films and I started making art, fine art, and then making films, I never thought I'd be in that. I had a loss of identity,
Range
a loss of
5.
my spirit. Like I was like so off course. I got so sick from something called valley fever. I couldn't train anymore.
What's valley fever?
It's like you can get it. You inhale a
Watch your
fungus or
step.
spore, and
Ah.
it attacks your lungs. And typically, people could feel like they got a cold or they fucking die or something like that. And what happened was I was
Range
overseas,
5.
and I had been harboring it in my body for about 2.5 months. And I look at myself in the mirror, and I'm fucking like skeleton. And I emergency came home, went to special disease at UCLA, and they treated me for it, which is you take this whole body antifungal.
Watch your
but the
step.
problem is it had gone into my lungs, my kidneys, near my heart. Like
Range
it got into
5.
my bloodstream. So I started getting like a abscess in my arm. I was a really healthy athlete. But when that happened, it took from me the ability to do what I thought I was. And I had to completely re-understand my life that I am not just
Watch
the
your
things that I
step.
do, that the things I do come from who I am, where my passion is. So it kind of, that was a learning lesson for me, is going through an illness that stopped me from doing what I loved to do and thought that's all I would ever do. So the path is like curvy, but I accept that as long as I'm,
Range 5.
being true and I'm not feeling that anxiety. And
Watch your
pain.
step.
I mean, it's okay to feel pain. It's great to feel pain. but-
With your fascination of the UFO experience and then you having psychedelic experiences, did you feel like there's any sort of connection between psychedelic experiences and UFO experiences?
Range
Do you
5.
think that those realms that you access through psychedelics in any way are related to extraterrestrial intelligence?
I love the theory. I have no idea. I just know that I can, like, mushrooms has like
Range 5.
cured my cluster migraines, you know? I know that there's something there that is of great benefit to my consciousness from time to time, but I don't know if I'm tapping into, like, I've never felt that I'm tapping into like an other intelligence
Range
rather
5.
than our collective intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. People say that, but also I've never had like a close encounter. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. What have you had? Like what
we need
encounters have you had?
Foley for this.
Yeah, because Foley, did you and Foley have something together?
Yeah, he talked about it publicly, and I didn't want him hanging out in the wind on his own. So I did see something with Foley, something I'd never seen before.
Where'd you guys go?
So we're by where I live, and we're just hanging out, and we're going on a walk, and it's just as the sun is kind of
Shockwave.
setting, just, talking shit.
Range 5.
And he makes some fucking joke, and he's like, "Oh, coming out to see the UFO expert, I figured I'd see a UFO. I really wish we could see one." I'm like, "Oh, you're funny. You should be a comedian, asshole." It's like, we're just fucking with him. He's fucking with me. Not 45 seconds after he says that, I go, "Turn the fuck around."
Range 5.
I thought it would be super brief. This big fucking glowing thing that comes in at 45 degrees and just goes like over this valley, right? And I just thought it'd be a shooting star or something. Your mind, it says, "Oh, this is normal. This is normal."
Right.
And we're both standing there looking at it. I said out loud, I have
Shockwave.
practiced the quick draw with the phone. I'm not going to be that asshole that sees something and doesn't film it. I
Right.
have practiced this quick draw. Otherwise, people are going to hate me, right?
Right.
I said out loud, he always reminds me of this. I said out loud, "I am not even going to try and film this."
Range 5.
It was so astonishing looking. It's so different than, it wasn't close encounter, it wasn't close, but it was so different than what I was used to seeing that I was kind of stunned. And so was he. And we thought maybe it'd be really brief. But this thing goes, it comes down at 45 degrees.
Range
it was
5.
Big.
Big like how big?
Well, it's hard to tell because it's not shaped like something that I know the size of, but I could tell it was within the valley, so it was big. I mean, at least a few school buses in length, 3 or 4 together at least is what I'd have to say.
And when you say
Range
that it
5.
wasn't shaped like anything
Right.
that you could recognize, like what was it shaped like?
He says like a hamburger with a bite out the front. Foley said that, which I would agree with. But what I'm saying is, if you show me a 747, I can tell you.
Didn't Dave draw it?
He did, and it's very accurate.
He put it on his
Range
Twitter, I
5.
think.
Right, and okay, so it had these big lights in the front, which was so weird looking. It had these big lights in the front, but the whole body of it would glow and pulse. And here's the weird part to me. So he has a different thing that he thinks is really important. I have my feeling. The thing comes in at 45 degrees. This was the crazy
Range
shit.
5.
It does this movement where once it levels out, it goes like 4 times. Impossible speed in these jumps. And every time it did it, it would flare up, like almost like, what I was impressed by was the tremendous power. The power that it took to make these movements.
Range
4
5.
of them. No sonic booms. That shit was way too fast. It looked like it was sliding. It was fucking weird, dude. And then Dave, right? So that's the angle it came in towards our view, our angle of view. And it's traveling where those 3 lights are, but that's not what glowed. The body of it glowed every time it made these slip
Range
movements,
5.
these slip movements. Then it went over to a hill, sat there, and then just descended down.
So it says what Dave wrote is, after years of interest in the UFOs without ever seeing anything, I saw something. This is a drawing of what I saw. I was with a friend who I'll let decide if he wants to be attached to this, and he does, there he is.
Range
It moved
5.
silently at great speed, hovered and pulsated with light. Huh.
And then I made a comment or something on there, but yeah.
Yeah.
So look, so we got Foley, who how old is he now? I mean,
He also writes, I should point out the white lights at the front of the craft,
Range
assuming that it
5.
was moving forward, and those lights pulsated separately from the body of the craft, which also pulsated.
Right.
And then Mick West, of course, jumps in.
Jesus.
Cloud, you share a date, time, location. I think he meant to say could. And if known direction.
Range
yeah.
5.
I mean, I went all full of UFO investigator. We didn't tell anybody for a long time. Like, even tell my wife about it. It's fucking weird, right? I looked at where the International Space Station was. I looked at all air traffic. You know, you're trying to just make sense of it.
Right.
I know it's extraordinary. It did something that I.
Why didn't you pull your phone out, man?
So what?
Why didn't you pull your phone out when you saw it?
Dude, it makes it makes me more angry than it makes you.
It doesn't make me angry.
It makes me really angry. Like, I was like,
Because you just wanted to experience it.
yes,
It was
because
so
I thought it would
nuts.
be
Right.
I thought it would be so brief.
Right.
You know, I
didn't
didn't want
lose
to,
it.
because then you lose like
Shockwave.
some eyesight. But Dave says and he's right. We reacted very strangely to seeing something so unique. Like, it's like it was void of emotion.
Like it hypnotized you.
I'm not saying that shit. Dave,
No, but you know what I'm saying? Like almost like the uniqueness, the novelty of it, that it was so wild and that you knew you were seeing something unique
yeah,
to the point where
Yes.
it
yes, totally agree.
captivates you.
Captivated me. It did. It was beautiful, and that how weird and exotic it was. And look, here's the joke. I'm the guy, hunting UFOs, talk to all these people
Range
every day
5.
that have encounters that I believe, and I never saw shit. I would always be the guy going in to get the night vision goggles to look at the sky, and everybody starts screaming, "Oh my God, did you just see that?" I was the guy always with his back turned.
Yeah.
Now it's like me bringing sand to the beach, man. The UFO guy sees a UFO. Who's going to believe me? I'm the least believable.
That's the problem with the whole UFO experience.
Range
is that
5.
No one believes anyone unless they've had an experience themselves.
Right.
Like when you have an experience yourself, there's probably this pause where you don't really want to talk about it because you don't want everybody to think you're a loon.
Yeah, I'm way past
Shockwave.
that. I got no
Right.
credibility to ruin at this point. Right? Fucking easy.
Oh,
Range
man.
5.
Yeah, I mean,
I've not seen anything. I don't think. I mean, maybe I saw something when I was a kid, but I'm probably exaggerating.
I really believe you got to just look up. I really believe that. I think that if
So you think there's more than enough of them?
I think that if
Shockwave.
it is what we think it is, if there is a presence, let's just call it non-human intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
and it is engaging humanity and has been for a long fucking time, since the beginning of recorded human history, if not before, if any of this is true, it seems reasonable that they, in some way, they want to be seen on a personal
Range 5.
level. If any of this is true, if you look up, man, just look the fuck up. I believe if you really want it and you look up, that there's something to this UFO thing, man.
Well, I know that there's been a series of sightings in Southern California, and that a lot of people have saw things, particularly off of Catalina.
Well, that area. Yeah, that's for sure.
What do you think that's about?
Don't know. You look locationally.
Yeah.
It's about. I don't know. That's an interesting area of the world. There are some places that seem to have higher activity of these UFOs.
Do you think maybe
Range
one
5.
of the explanations would be that Catalina is off the coast of California and that they use the water as like a place where they have a base or where they meet or where they
A fueling station or something.
whatever.
Or maybe just a safe place, man.
Yeah, or a place to completely avoid
Range
detection.
5.
Yeah. I was told a long time ago by an admiral that I trust, like family, that this is important to look into, that there's meat on the bone, and that every branch of our military
Range
studies
5.
this current day, and this was 10 years ago having this conversation. I was asking him, should I waste my time on this Lazar guy? Like,
Right.
that's
right,
specifically, because this is a
Right.
person that would know.
right.
Let's leave it at that, right? And it took a while for this person to really answer me. Like they let me into some cool places.
Range
to check
5.
because I had fascination about this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Some military stuff. They let me come see stuff because I had fascination. Not UFO stuff, just general stuff.
Right.
And the person we're talking about ended up saying to me, it's worth your time specifically to look into Lazar. It's worth your time.
Range
This
5.
is somebody that has stopped me from wasting my time on other ideas, right?
Right.
And this person also said to me that there's more activity under the water than there is in the air with these UFO things. If that's
Wow.
true, I said, how the fuck am I going to research that? I got a submarine. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
What am I supposed to do
Range
Right.
5.
with that information? Thanks. He's like, you ever seen the movie The Abyss? I'm like, yeah. He's like, it's a good one.
Oh.
I
The
mean,
movie The Abyss was fascinating, right? Because that opened up people's ideas to the idea, or opened up people's minds to the idea that there could be a spaceship in the water,
Range
and
5.
aliens in the water,
Yeah.
and that of course, like you would have no idea that they were there.
right.
The Abyss is great to the ending. The ending is like
I don't remember
kind of hokey.
the ending.
The ending's like,
I just-
why are you showing me so much?
I'm just glad the movie exists. I just watched
Yeah.
Contact again.
Contact's
have
great.
you watched that recently?
Yeah, I watched it a couple of years ago.
A couple years ago.
I think I watched
Range
it during
5.
the pandemic when the first pandemic first started.
Why-
Watched it again.
I love that movie, man.
It's a great
I hadn't
movie.
seen it since it came out, probably, right? And
Yeah.
I watched it the other week. It's that thing where the rest of the world doesn't experience what that person experiences. So Jodie
Right.
Foster, right? She dropped. Is that her name? And she drops
Range
down in
5.
that thing.
Mm-hmm.
I remember they put a chair in it, and the chair started going crazy because
Yeah.
it wasn't designed that way.
Right.
And she gets out of it, and the chair smashes against it. For her, she had this whole experience. Whatever, not number of hours, 22 hours, or whatever. The
And it
rest of
was
the
just a
world just
second.
saw
Yeah.
not even a second.
Yeah.
That's your
Range
interdimensional
5.
thing right there. The idea
Yeah.
that there's popping into timelines
Yeah.
across space. and time.
Shockwave.
Well, I think if you
Shockwave.
were an incredibly advanced being, if you think about the human race, if the human race doesn't blow itself up, and
Range
we
5.
move on and continue to advance for another 1,000,000 years, you would assume that we would have the
Shockwave.
ability to do all kinds of things that are just science fiction now. And one of
Shockwave.
them might be interdimensional travel, access to realms that are previously unseen that we just don't understand because we're just too primitive.
It was preposterous to fly like a bird at one time.
Yeah.
Now
It was
we're up in-
preposterous to go on a train. They thought if you go on a train more than 35 miles an hour, your body would liquefy or something. They thought you would die.
And
Yeah.
to put metal up in
Shockwave.
the air, right?
Yeah.
Just,
Crazy.
I mean, it's all
Yeah.
crazy until it's science
Range
fiction
5.
until it's science fact, man.
Right.
So maybe what we're witnessing is just nature. See, that's my whole thing with this UFO thing is if this is just nature, if this is part of the ecosystem of the world we live in,
Right.
where just like UFOs are part of our reality. There's nothing we can do about that anymore. That has been determined. You've been told. Disclosure in that
Range
sense
5.
has already been done. You've been told UFOs are real. It's just like, what does that mean for us? In how large of an ecosystem is this that we're dealing with? Isn't that just nature? Like before, we thought there were monsters in the ocean. You've said that before. We thought
Right.
there's monsters in the ocean. Now we got names for them. Maybe what we're seeing is just a part
Range
of
5.
nature that we are just becoming aware of, just like a Copernican revolution for whatever.
Right. That there are entities and there are life forms that are far more advanced than us.
Yeah.
And that they've always been here.
And the UFO mystery or puzzle might represent something more than just physical machines from other intelligent entities. There
Yeah.
might be something bigger going on.
Like what?
Well, I don't know, like as if it's being presented that way to us to almost like educate us or teach us something. I would hope that. I think that's a cool theory.
So they're allowing us to formulate new thoughts based on these experiences in contact
Right.
and sightings.
I mean, it's such like an altruistic way of looking at it. But
Right.
if I was like this hyper intelligent species, whether being here on Earth or just been here a long time, maybe I got stuck here,
right.
or I'm from somewhere else, bringing people, adapting people to your
Range
presence
5.
and helping an evolution, a technological evolution. These craft that like crash, like maybe that's to inspire the next leap for us.
Mm.
I mean, I don't know. Defense people would be like, Jeremy, that's bullshit. They're prepping the battlefield. We're fucked. We need to find out their intent.
Yeah.
It's a different perspective.
But it's also they
Range
seem-
5.
Well, you would know this, because I've said this before. I want to make sure it's true. the sightings picked up in a big way after they dropped the bombs.
Yeah, fact.
Yeah, so after Hiroshima and Nagasaki, that's when all
Range
the sightings
5.
started happening.
Well, even the development.
Oh, so during the Manhattan Project,
Yeah, during the development. But
the Trinity.
UFOs have always been part of the human experience. Let's not forget that.
Right.
But it is
But we don't know what those people were seeing, right? When they
Right.
talk about the Vimanas and the
shields of fire in the
Rigveda,
sky.
yeah,
Range 5.
We don't know what they're seeing. How could
the
we?
Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, there's in so many different, like Ezekiel, right,
Yeah.
in the Bible,
Yeah.
a wheel within a wheel.
It's all interpretation,
Like,
right?
what the fuck was Ezekiel talking? Well, what?
I don't know. But people are seeing
Right. they're
things
seeing
in the
something.
sky that
yeah.
seem to be machines. I mean, no matter what, they
Range
describe
5.
There's also these ancient depictions and paintings of what looks like people in spacecrafts flying around.
I've got one of the first posts I ever did on my website is like an image of a painting from pre-flight days, and it
Mhm.
shows this fucking disc, and it's shooting down light onto like John
Range
Mathis or
5.
something. I don't know.
Right.
Dude, artists will sometimes paint what they have seen and put it in historical context. The shit's haunting, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
what we're seeing today has been seen before. Again, I've got an article from 1960. where there's
Range 5.
cubes in spheres that fighter pilots see.
Ooh, where's that article?
I'll just give you, I had to get it from somebody, but
Do you have a copy on
yeah,
your
I
phone?
got it right here.
Get it and get it to Jamie.
Yeah.
Need to see that.
Yeah, it's cool. It's just words. They just, they tell you what the pilot saw.
But still, the fact that from the 1960s they have this
That's what I'm saying.
same thing that they saw that
What's
It's-
your
and it's-
AirDrop?
oh, sorry, let me open mine up.
Jamie's MacBook Pro?
Yeah, you can do that. That'll work. What's crazy too is that for whatever reason,
Range 5.
they seem to go to specific areas. Like you were saying that the cube with the sphere. Here it is. 2 identified pilots, one flying a Frontier Airlines plane, the other a military jet, reportedly spotted the object. The FAA at Grand Junction said
Range 5.
the objects appeared to be spherical and enclosing a square object. The lights alternatively flashing the different colors appeared to emanate from the square object within the sphere. The FAA spokesman here declined to comment further on it. And then go all the way up, Jimmy, so we can see what year this is, what time the. So this is the Alamogordo, New Mexico, Thursday, September 29th, 1960. Wild.
Yeah, man.
That's wild.
An online
Range 5.
found this for me.
UFO flashes colored lights on the heels of the green and bright orange unidentified flying object spotted in the Alamogordo skies Sunday night and early Monday morning. A flashing red, white, and green UFO has now been spotted in several New Mexico and
Range
Colorado
5.
cities.
Which, by the way, red, white, and green, people were like, oh, that's FAA lights on the stuff I released. And I'm
Mhm.
like, really, bitch? I'm like, okay, well, look, they were doing red, white, and green back in 1960 when fucking cubes were flying around. And,
That is so wild that it's the exact same description.
yes.
A cube encased in a circle.
I don't even
Wow.
think, I've told none of the pilots about this. I don't know why I've just never shared this with them. They should probably know. They know now.
Yeah.
So show them. It's fucking cool.
1960.
Yeah, man. Safety of flight issues, cubes
Yeah.
again, 1960.
That's crazy. That's
Range
really
5.
wild, man. Really wild.
Why are you interested in UFOs?
Well, I guess I've always been. I think everybody is. Most people. If you thought they were real, the people that aren't interested in them, they're not interested in them because they think it's nonsense. But if they really thought there's a strong
Range
potential
5.
for it to be real, I don't know how you could not be fascinated. That's why, I had that argument with Neil deGrasse Tyson about it. Like, why would they care about us? I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? We go study slugs. We study spores and microbes. Why wouldn't they study territorial apes with thermonuclear weapons? Like, why wouldn't they study that? Of
Why
course
Range
is
they would.
he
5.
salivating over the fact
He's an odd guy.
Okay.
I don't know what the fuck is going on in his mind. I really don't. He was mocking people for being interested in the eclipse. Yeah. And everybody was giving him shit online. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, you're literally the guy that's, like, telling everybody to look at the cosmos.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
like, what are you doing?
It's your inconsistency that I've yet to understand.
Maybe he's troubled. Maybe he's not happy. I don't know. I just, I mean, he generally has so much joy when it comes to science. It's like the inconsistency is confusing to me. And the idea that they wouldn't be interested in us is, to me, preposterous. We would be, if we found something like us somewhere else, we would be so fast. If we found frogs on Mars, just frogs.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, if you believe the messaging that people talk about, like I'm friends with these two ladies. They were at the aerial school, and they, were that's where the craft landed, and like a bunch of kids, 60 kids or something. They see it. John Mack went and studied it, all this stuff. So that the two females that I know that were there, closest proximity to what they said was a being that came out, they're like, we were mesmerized by it. Like looking in the eyes of this thing, they were mesmerized by it, was the words. And it put these images in their head, which at the time didn't mean anything much to them. It was like destruction of the earth, like this whole thing. But talking to them now, they're like, maybe we're supposed to talk about this. It's still with them, like what they saw. If you believe their story or not, they believe it, I'll tell you that much. That they got these visual messages, and I've heard this over and over and over. I wonder what they're up to, these fucking weird things, man. Putting ideas into people's heads, man.
Is this that painting you said?
Yeah, that's the one.
So it's called the Baptism of Christ.
Look at the year.
1710.
So that thing in the sky is a circular object that's showing beams of light that shoot down on the baptism of Christ. Can you zoom in on the object? Yeah, what is that?
1710.
That is wild. I mean, what do you think they were trying to show? It's
Well,
hard to say, but it's illuminating one very specific area on the ground, much like Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Well, everything else in that painting doesn't look interpretive, right? Like the
Right.
people look like people. It's not a Salvador Dali painting.
Right.
So I'm going to make the assumption that in this style of painting, you're drawing this idea of what is there. So I would have to think maybe this person who painted this, maybe they've seen something like that before.
Or that's like their version of showing the power of God without showing God. I
Right.
mean, I could see that like a beam of light down to the sky from the heavens. I mean, they're not showing something that they're seeing because it's the baptism of Christ. They weren't there for that. Right.
But I'm saying that they're drawing something where the people look
It's
like people.
realistic.
It's realistic. So like, what is a disc?
Yeah.
It's just I have no idea. It's just fascinating
Yeah.
in ancient artwork that you've got these things that look like this.
I'll turn the question on you. Why are you so interested in UFOs?
I don't fucking know, dude. You think that's funny?
It is kind of funny because
Uh,
we both don't have a real answer.
I haven't really figured that out.
No one does. I mean,
I like the hunt.
Right. The chase is
That
fascinating.
people will
right?
talk to me. That I get to sit in these
Yeah.
rooms. That I get to be on these phone calls.
And the wonder, right?
Oh, dude, the wonder, bro.
Yeah, the wonder is really intense.
I almost don't want to figure this shit out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. Well, I kind of do want to, but then maybe the mystique will be all gone. Then we'll feel terrified.
Right. They're just
Because-
space whales, and they're turds.
Well, no, I don't think so. I think the idea would be that we're lab rats. I think that's what's scary to me, is that somehow or another we're being examined. And we are such a preposterous yet super advanced civilization. I mean, we're governed by politicians that are clearly corrupt and also full of shit. We allow those same people to control various aspects of the way we interact with other governments that could lead to mass deaths and often do. It's really wild. Like when you think about what we're doing We use coal-powered plants to power supposedly zero-emission electric cars. It's like, are you fucking crazy? That's and then we're terrified of nuclear power, which is probably the cleanest, safest form of power that we've ever devised. Like, we're weird. We're weird across the board.
Every country has their hands in this UFO thing.
Yeah. What country embraces it the most openly, publicly?
U.S.
The U.S.
Oh, no, openly and publicly. I don't know. France has been really good about it. Brazil. I mean, even Chinese were saying there's so much data that they're analyzing it with AI to help aggregate the data.
Brazil had famous crashes, right?
Yeah.
And out of those, some metal evidence was retrieved, correct?
I don't know how you say it. Virginia is where the being came out, and someone got real sick from it all. Yeah, look, but there have been crashes in many of the country, many of the main countries that like we'd consider technologically advanced or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So like Russia as well. Like George Knapp, remember, he obtained and got out from Russia a bunch of the classified documents from the Russian UFO program. And he went and talked with people there. He went twice during Glasnost and Perestroika, and these are the people that ran the UFO programs. And inside those documents, which he's had translated now, right?
Mm-hmm.
They tell that they were trying to, reverse engineer laser technology, that they knew we had UFO retrieval programs, that they knew that, some of our programs were doing UFOs. Like, all of this is what George Knapp got that out of Russia at a time when he could have been arrested for bringing that shit out in the airport, right? Every major country has interest and a stake in this because I think people want a technological advantage, man. If they can ascertain anything from this, they got a fucking technological advantage. If Russia had anything, they'd be using it right now, too. That's the thing. If we had a really great weapon caused, from the retrieval stuff. But other legislative people from other countries have reached out to me saying that they want to replicate what the U.S. is doing in their country.
So the U.S. is doing it most openly now?
Right now, I would say that is a correct statement. Fast and hard. This language in the UFO language in the National Defense Authorization Act of 2023, UFO whistleblower language, no one's done this before.
So assuming Bob is telling the truth,
yeah,
and Bob Lazar is telling the truth, that means that Area S4 housed multiple off-world crafts.
Yep.
If that's the case, where are those things now?
No, I don't know. I bet you they fucking moved those out the second Bob opened his big-ass mouth.
Where would they take them? Do you think there's another site like that, but it's still remaining top secret? And isn't that increasingly difficult to do with satellite technology?
I know there are facilities that are not. That we can keep secrets. We can. Our government can keep secrets. That's for sure.
And so there are some top secret facilities that, like Area 51, used to be speculative, right? It was speculative until they had to acquire more land and make more land top secret around the outside of it. So they had to admit that it was there, right?
Yeah.
Because too many people were
land grab
visiting.
Too many. Yeah.
How much of a factor do you think you and I had in the Storm Area 51 movement?
I'm gonna say 0. No, dude. The kid watched the movie, watched your podcast, and just went up and threw that shit up online. I was doing damage control, man. I got some angry ass calls, like, "Are you gonna cause problems?" kind of shit. And I'm like, "No, I'm gonna go manage it, man."
Yeah.
Just go out there.
Don't go, everybody.
People that want to dog me as most well known for the debacle of the Storm 51 thing. I didn't have nothing to do with that.
Nothing. But
Nothing.
I meant in terms of like influencing it.
100%? Is that okay to say? because that's the truth. Fucking so stupid.
Yeah. Those conversations we had, I think, with Bob Lazar in particular, really filled people's minds with imagination.
But look at that. And by the way, it was fun. People were really calm and nice. There were some bad actors, like people trying to stir me up,
Right.
You're going to go raid those gates. No, I think they were like actual
probably
fucking
feds.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, like the people that are telling people to storm the Capitol. Get your zip ties. Let's get in there and find Pelosi.
Creep me out, bro.
Yeah.
I got like that. I got that evil bad feeling where I thought something bad was going to happen.
I think anytime there's any kind of an organization, someone from the federal government infiltrates it and tries to get them to do something fucked up.
Right.
so that they can invade
Yeah.
and then take people down and arrest them. I just think that's how they operate.
But it was kind of beautiful though to see people be able to get close to this like super secret gate that normally
Yeah.
you'd be thrown on the ground in front of. And what are you doing here? And they were like, there was like a whole welcoming committee. They're like,
Really?
oh yeah, yeah. I was standing up there. I got footage of it, man. Just
Who was the welcoming committee?
all different agencies, plain clothes. Like they made sure you know not to cross that line. But as long as you don't even think about that, it was all hugs and high fives and let's
Really?
take photos. Yeah, I got tons of photos of people there right at the, and they're just all. And then some people recognized me as one of the people that might have like
Right,
like that. And
influenced
then it was like more selfies. It was so funny,
Oh,
dude.
that's hilarious.
They were super kind, and I thought how cool is that they were like, no, we're just like we're cool today. You can be here
Right.
today.
Do you think that they know anything?
The employees there.
Yeah.
I've talked to a lot of employees, like former employees, current employees, and it's so compartmentalized. But the one place, I don't think I should say this because then maybe they'll stop doing it. But the one place where the word on the wash is strong, as they say, is the bar at 51.
There's a bar there?
Yeah, man. It's a little secret I keep in because I know the name, and I know I can describe it. So if I get somebody
So it's only
faking
the
me out.
military guys that go there and drink.
Yes, you have to be on base. You have to be on
Right.
base. But it's like it's always the bar, right, where people
Of
talk. So
course.
that's where all the rumors go. So Site 4, all that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
after talking maybe, 30, 40 people, current, past, all that stuff, people know that there's a facility at Papoose. They know that.
So if you think that they moved everything out of there when Bob started opening his mouth in the late 80s, is there any speculation as to where they would have moved it?
I have no speculation, and I don't know they did move it. That's something George has said is like, oh, if it was there, it's gone now because
Where would you take it?
maybe you leave it right fucking there.
Right, no one's going there.
Nobody's going there. I actually, somebody that I've spoken with on record has gone there because they were just, they had access to, and the second they hit, like out of nowhere, civilian contractors with machine guns and black attire put him face down, and he's a Navy guy. He's a Navy guy with like a good access to the land of 51 because it's so compartmentalized. Usually you couldn't run around, but what he was doing, which it's not important, but he had access to more of the land.
Right.
He got fucking thrown on the ground. He became a believer that day. He's like, there is an installation. I just want you to know my story because he goes, I didn't see the exact thing. I didn't get that far. He goes, but if there was
Right.
nothing there, where the people come from?
Right.
So you get anecdotal. I don't know, dude. Bob, he's so gangster. I don't know if people know this, but
Range
the
5.
U.S. would never sell satellite time to take photos of Papoose Lake in 1989, 1990. So he hired a Russian satellite to take photos.
Really?
He did.
He hired a Russian. How does one even facilitate that?
I got to talk. I've seen the negatives. They're in
Range
LA,
5.
and a buddy of his has them. I want the world to see them. They're pretty neat. They believe there's something there to be seen.
Still.
No, like in these
In
satellite.
these satellite images.
Yeah, like it looks like
Can
a
you go to-
saucer.
Does Google Earth have pictures of Area S4?
Range 5.
I mean,
Let's find out.
kinda,
We're
yeah,
gonna
I'm
find out.
sure. Yeah, I mean, people have taken planes and tried to come in. See, there's nothing there to see in the mountains. They've got planes close
Shockwave.
by with like long lens cameras. Are you fucking kidding me? If it says Lazar described, which by the way, I've had so many confirmations that there is a facility there like Bob described, right?
Right.
But if it was there, the whole point of it is to not be seen from the air.
Right.
That would be the whole point.
Right.
We have that in Switzerland too, by the way. We have, like,
Shockwave.
hillsides, and if you know what you're looking for when you fly in to Switzerland, you can see markings on the
Range
roads
5.
where the planes come out of hills that are completely disguised as foliage and that. The planes come out, taxi onto the roads, and take off. And
From the roads.
and you can see if you know what you're looking for when you fly over Switzerland, you can see the markers.
So the markers, like where they're told to go through, or
yeah,
the
or
markers
like the
where they're
flight
the
takeoff,
planes-
landing. Yeah, where those planes would take off and land. So
like
they
the
know.
rubber where the tires hit. Like
Yeah. I think where they're gonna land and then hide these planes back into these hills that are retractable.
Really?
Yeah, man, that's what I'm told.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll look into it.
We'll look into
We'll
it.
look into it.
Got any? Area S4.
Yeah.
You can see above it clearly.
Let's see what that looks like.
Well, I'm looking for pictures of it, but
So that's it.
I don't. No, I don't know. That's what I'm trying to. I don't think it is.
Where Area 51.
You actually
It's not
see it.
even new.
That's Area 51. You can actually see it on Google
Oh
Maps.
yeah, Area 51. You can see a lot of the facility now.
And Area 51 is still active.
Yeah. Oh, big time.
This is claiming you can see a UFO from this picture, but this
Wow.
is 2010 or something.
Google Maps reveals secret base within 30-meter UFO with 30-meter UFO at Area 51 claims alien hunter. Where's that?
Claims alien hunter. So we got to look at sources here.
Wow.
What's going
Right.
on?
I'm an alien hunter, bro.
Yeah, man. I hate it when people call me a UFO enthusiast. I'm like, I'm fucking enthusiastic about waking up in the morning. Fucking.
I'm a UFO enthusiast.
You think
You
that's
can
okay?
call me that, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I'm enthusiastic.
That's their claim.
Well, that's about everything, though.
That's a UFO?
Yeah. That's what some of these things I'm looking at. I'm like, I wouldn't even stop you guys to
Range
this up.
5.
You're a
Okay,
fucking
okay.
Waste of
loser.
time.
That's a goddamn building, you
So
Yeah,
crackhead.
here's the other thing I found just for clarity. It says you can. This is someone tagged area or S4
Mhm.
on Google Maps. Like when you Google this is what comes up, but they've just circled like. Parts
yeah,
of
that's the
desert.
hillside where people
Oh,
suggest it was.
so
built in.
you can't really see anything from the sky.
Well, that was the
Range
that would be the
5.
whole point of installations like this, which we do have.
Right.
According to this map, this says this is a picture from 2022. I don't know what day.
I don't see
but
shit.
Right.
So they're just outlining where the area where it would be, but you
I
really
don't know.
can't see
People
a damn
guessing
thing.
or something.
Huh.
Right
But
back.
wouldn't there be roads that you could see?
It's on
Well,
the edge
so
of
there,
Papa-
Range
so in the
5.
older footage, you can see roads down to the lake, but that just means people drive down there.
And Papoose Lake is a dry lake bed, correct?
Right. So it's just south of Area 51. Area 51 is the box, right? So it is a designation within the Nellis base, and they're all numbered and labeled Papoose. So there's Area 51 proper. with the
Range
runway.
5.
And then where Bob, would get on the bus is from Area 51, and I have people that saw him get on a bus and drive south, and then drive down to Papoose Lake.
And is there a road that leads to Papoose
There's
Lake?
two, so that one that goes along there.
That's a road.
There's a
Yeah,
bunch
and
of
then
them,
there's
and I don't
another one
know-
there.
Range
So
5.
fuck it,
These
There's a
are new.
real road out there. Wow.
Roads going a couple different directions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Shockwave.
Fucking A. What is going on
I
out
don't
there?
know, that's new developments.
What is going on out there? All right, Jeremy.
All right, my friend.
Thank you very much for coming in here.
Range
Always a
5.
pleasure. Great to talk to you. Thank you for sharing whatever information you have and everything else. Show me off air, and I won't tell anybody.
Okay. Well, thanks for keeping the topic alive, Joe.
Oh, listen, the topic is alive whether I keep it alive or not.
That's
it's,
true.
It's
That's true.
something that more so now than I think any time in our lives.
Yeah,
Right.
it is.
It's
It is.
exciting.
Something's about to happen.
Maybe. Oh, you know something?
No, I hope. With all this shit, man. Come on.
I hope so too. All right.
All right, thanks,
Bye,
man.
everybody.
Range 5. Shockwave. Range 5. Shockwave. Range 5. Range 5. Watch your step. Range 5. Range 5. Watch your step. Range 5. Range 5. Range 5. Range 5.
Hey, Motorhead! Get in here! Let's give you a little more
Crossing the
out
finish
of
line.
gas.
The Junkers are no longer a threat. Proceed with caution.
Shockwave. Range 5.
Assistance protocol activated. Assistance protocol activated.
Range 5.
I'm detecting a power node within that ship.
You come to steal treasures? Trunks, bring me their skulls!
Range 5. Range Shockwave. Range 5. Shockwave. Range 5.
challenge me, I crush you! Minions, kill them! He's gonna bury you! Smash you black! Trump!
Clearing the area.
Minions, kill them! Break your bones!
You have 0 seconds to comply.
He's gonna bury you! Trump! More Trump!
Range 5.
Minions, kill them! Break your bones!
Range 5.
Clearing the area.
No! Round for cure!
I will deactivate the node. Move.
Range 5.
Proceed with caution. Mechagon.
Range 5.
Sanitation required.
Range 5.
Error. Null system restored. Moving to contamination site.
Range 5.
It is too far away.
Range 5.
Error. Mobility compromised.
Range 5.
Sanitation required. Sensors recalibrated. Massive toxicity levels detected.
Range 5.
Error.
Shockwave.
Mobility compromised.
Range 5.
Error. Mobility compromised. Sensors recalibrated. Massive toxicity levels detected.
Range 5.
Sanitation required.
Range 5. Range 5.
Sanitation required. Toxicity levels rising.
Range 5.
Sanitation required.
Range 5.
Sanitation required.
With that creature neutralized, exemplary work with the power.
Range 5. Range 5. Shockwave. Range 5. Range 5.
Excellent. Target practice. Weapons free. All cannons, fire.
Range 5.
Deploy the reinforcements. Weapons free. Weapons free. All cannons, fire. Prepare for annihilation.
Range 5.
sands will consume everything!
For you, I offer only the finest. Everything is negotiable. Your patronage is always appreciated with my wares. You struck a hard bargain. All goods and services for sale. Until our next transaction.